Call the Board of Aldermen work session to order February 21st, 2024 at 6 p.m. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Are you okay? It's not open?
Items for discussion.
John, can I say something before we get into that
Sure, go ahead.
about there was an email, I believe, sent out regarding some items in work session that we were bypassing the P and Z with discussing putting an insurance agency in the C3 zoning. And that's not the truth. That's not what's happening. And we'll understand that as we start discussing putting an insurance salesman category into C3 zoning. The second thing, when we get into number 2, discussing the agenda, Cedar Stone Apartments is not on the agenda tonight. It is listed as the last item after adjournment, and it says it is not going to be considered. And it has been there for the last 6 months, and it's nothing that's been added, and it's nothing that's going to be discussed. So those 2 items, if you're here for that, that should cover it. Thank you.
Okay.
Agenda.
Okay, first item for discussion and consideration, request for amendment to current C3 zoning restrictions. There was a RBA requested by Mike Paslow and seconded by Pete. I believe the way I understood it, based on my conversation with John Dickey, he recently purchased a home in C3 and he'd like to move his insurance business there. My recommendation was to go through planning and zoning with a request to change the zoning. I believe he talked to you, Mike?
Mhm.
And this is where this came from. Now go ahead.
Yep. So Mr. Dickey reached out to me. He did purchase one of the older houses there on Technology, and has opened up, well, I guess you're still renovating a little bit, but put a lot of money into making that house look a lot better. And intended to, open up for commercial purposes that were allowed within C3. He does maintain a office here at City Hall and wish to, consolidate those so that he doesn't have to drive back and forth for 2 different businesses. And as I reviewed the C3 zoning, there's a lot of conditional uses available. Among them are not all, they're commercial uses, but not all sales tax generating. For example, chiropractor's office doesn't generate any sales tax. It's very similar in its impact to a insurance office. But because insurance office is not specifically listed as a optional, as a conditional use, the board planning and zoning can't even consider it. So given that fact, recognizing this as a use in the area, allowing an insurance company to co-locate with an existing business wouldn't have a negative impact. I wanted to bring this forward for discussion and referral to P&Z if we agree that that's something that we'd like to consider. And so the request would be specifically just to amend the C3 zoning to add insurance office as a optional conditional use. That is not a guaranteed, it is not an immediate allowance under C3. It would be one that the board and P&Z would be able to consider and would be able to approve or deny based on the location and its fit within that C3.
So in my opinion, we're opening up a can of worms because now what about real estate offices? What about just offices of any kind in general? Okay, to C3. So we add insurance offices to C3. Someone else comes next month, next year, rehabs a little place and wants to move, we got a C3 piece of ground and now they want to move in another type of office that generates pretty much no income that C3 was, our understanding, there for retail income to the city. I know it's not explicit throughout C3 of every business generates some kind of income, but I think we're opening up a can of worms. I think we should keep it under C2 and somebody wants to do something like Mr. Dickey, you go and you ask for a zoning change.
Mr. Mayor, I can tell you that we did get a request for zoning verification recently from Thomas Realty Group regarding parcels adjacent to the location in question about building a headquarters office building for one of the local home builders here, St. Charles County. We did tell them that, you know, it's not zoned for that, it's C3 zoning, that it would not be an allowable use. That was the determination of the
Up
city.
into the mic.
Well,
I mean,
this is as close as it gets without me hanging over it.
Oh.
So this is, so yes, we do get zoning inquiries regularly about areas, about parcels in that area, because those parcels that are adjacent are in fact own real estate on properties by St. Louis Bank, and they are trying to market those. So we do get a lot of requests. We've had several. Most recently was one for, again, an office for a local home builder. So I mean, I would caution if we're going to start opening it up to multiple. I don't know if this would, maybe I would ask our city attorney if this creates any sort of precedence. And I do also want to make sure that the city attorney addresses that making it a conditional use permit process does not mean we can just turn it down because we don't want it. It's allowable with conditions. So it's not we can pick and choose if we like them or don't like them or don't want it or we don't think it fits. I think it's important for him to maybe elaborate a little bit on what that process is for conditional use. For a conditional use permit, if we make it a conditional use, allowable under a conditional use permit.
Well, conditional use is an administrative.
Oh, it might.
approval.
It might be. Oh,
Conditional use permit is an administrative approval that planning and zoning commission and the board of aldermen review under the criteria set forth in the code. And the idea of a conditional use permit is if it meets the criteria, you should approve it. If it doesn't meet the criteria, you should deny it. Unlike distinguished from a rezoning where you have a lot more discretion. Location.
The precedent that would be set here in my mind would be, and correct me where I am wrong, co-located within a C3 use already. If you wanted to use the back room to do that, not changing the nature of the location besides maybe generating a little more traffic to technology, would there be anything else that would commit us to approving things in the future that would have an impact or would take up more space?
I don't think the issue is, how are you gonna identify in the code that if you use the back room of a retail space, that's okay for something that's not allowed?
Well, so I mean, I guess a perfect example would be next door. We're closely adjacent, not completely adjacent, would be Paco's Tacos leaves. And then now an insurance agency wants to go in there because it isn't in the adjacent space of an existing C3 convenience store building. So now Paco's Tacos leaves. State Farm Insurance Agency wants to move in there. It's co-locating in a space that's already being used for a allowable C3 purpose. Or if anybody,
Separate address, yeah. I mean, it's a.
I mean, that's just,
distinction.
I think I think what are Priorities.
Any other thoughts? Justin? You have any thoughts on it?
See other, I guess, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. So my first thought when I first got it was sort of two things. One is it would obviously have to go through planning and zoning anyway, so. The second side is does it make sense to sort of relook at, I wouldn't say you would go and say, oh, we're gonna look at adding this one conditional use. I think it should. Believe we're going to do it, then we should have planning and zoning look at, well, what other conditional uses would we want in that particular district? And, does this type of service make sense overall? Not knowing what comparable districts allow in other cities, I wouldn't say, yes, go ahead and do it right now. I wouldn't. Told me 3 other surrounding cities and their C3 comparable zoning districts allow for insurance agents. I mean, something like that. Maybe we should. Otherwise, it would be potentially a competitive scenario of, well, I can open these types of businesses in other places, but I can't open them in Garden Prairie. Probably look at more from that standpoint, yes, and still one on.
So something that I think this board also needs to recognize and be careful of, so we just have the mixed use, building that's on Town Square next to Prairie. There's potential for additional lots to be built out still on the Prairie Encore. Those are obviously C3 PUD developments. There's obviously open spaces right there next to the New Mexican restaurants going to be going in at the end cap of the mixed use building at the Prairie. Do we want to start opening up potential floodgates for allowing non-retail uses into areas that we are desperately trying to maintain the integrity of our retail district, retail area? We don't, we talk about this regularly. We don't have much retail space. We don't have much space that's zoned retail in the first place. But outside of a PUD situation, maybe, where certain development situations, it might make sense to have additional uses. Do we really want to make it, do we want to codify that in our code to say that these uses are, I say allowable, they're not permitted, but they're allowable with conditions. So, we always have the opportunity in future PUD developments to outline those sorts of things. Possible.
Yeah, and in large developments, PUD isn't as cumbersome. It's a pretty arduous and expensive task to get the PUD. But I like
But you can also
Justin's
put in
comments
things
and
like
that he taking that broader look and asking P and Z to look at it a little bit broader, because there's absolutely a possibility they come back and they say, no, this shouldn't be allowed. And by the way, chiropractor office shouldn't be allowed either.
I don't, hold on. We got P and Z people here, right?
I don't know that I'd ask them out of P.
No, I'm not gonna ask them. I'm just saying chiropractor. I couldn't find where chiropractor was in C3. It's in
I thought-
C2. It's specifically, is it in C3?
Yeah.
Spelled out? I know I saw it in C2
It's actually a permitted.
C2.
use. It's a permitted use in.
for both. Okay. All right.
No, and that's when I was familiar, I was like, well, this is gonna have to go through P and Z, so I didn't look back at.
Yeah, so how does something like that get in C3? I don't,
That
I mean,
to me is kind of one of the.
Yeah.
like, if anything, I would charge planning and zoning with actually just relooking at what our permitted and conditional uses are, and do they actually make sense with what we're trying to accomplish, especially given. Guessing that not much of this was changed at all during the comprehensive plan side of things. It's like, did a comprehensive plan, and do these things actually align with that or not?
The comprehensive plan didn't really address uses in districts so much as they address locations and uses.
Yeah.
Of certain locations. They address the map more than. But we can do is we can do some research as far as what is kind of the standard practice maybe around the region. But we also might want to we also might want to consider that again, the way that we approach zoning in Darden Prairie is oftentimes pushing people into the PUD process, recognizing that maybe through that process, we make sure we have flexibility in that process, as opposed to going back and potentially changing the established developments by virtue of changing the zoning, changing what might be allowable in those developments, because those developments, we kind of approved them with a certain expectation. That expectation would be to, well, whether it was the Prairie or the Prairie Encore, there was an expectation of, we allowed multifamily in, but there was an expectation to maximize retail. I would hate to open the floodgates to allow them to now skirt that for the purposes of saying, hey, rent to us is more important than retail to you. Because rental, for a developer, it's, hey, I need to get this thing filled.
Yeah.
For us, it's, we want you to fill it with something that helps us pay for our city services.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's a much more complex question than to ask for it, but I'm just thinking like, the only explanation I can think of just off the top of my head for chiropractor being permitted in C3 is your average chiropractor appointment is about 15 minutes or 15 minutes. So if somebody's full all day, you're generating a lot of foot traffic to the retail center if they're in one. So that to me could make sense for it to be, but I just say, oh, well, this type of business or whatever. Nothing.
Yeah.
Couldn't say.
Would the board like to have the planning and zoning at least have a discussion about it without some sort of, maybe charge them with having a discussion rather than a proposal that they review, and maybe have them give us some input back?
I think at a minimum, that's a worthwhile.
I mean,
exercise to have.
we can do some research on our own.
Yeah.
I could provide that to the board and to the P and Z about those standard practices. Maybe some of the thought processes, maybe from an economic development standpoint. We can engage some of the resources that we have there, but then maybe turn it over for the P and Z in a future meeting. You guys at least want to talk about this, take this on maybe as a big project, as Justin mentioned.
At the same time, I wouldn't want this to be something that drags on and fizzles out, but there'd be some action taken, whether it is, putting it to bed or proceeding with it. I've seen a lot of things that just good intentions can fizzle out. So I'd want to put some kind of action.
I mean, I think maybe motion to have the P and Z at their next meeting review this issue and be explicit that you don't want to keep it to just this one use within the C3 zoning, but rather to explore whether or not C3 should be further modified and have them report back to us after their next meeting.
I would.
So that way we
just
have,
see 3, but I think longer term, I think probably worthwhile to actually look at this one in the more aggressive.
and I will tell you, so, Kim, John Young and I had a meeting before this. So if you ever look at our ordinances, we have all of those new laws.
Mhm.
So we're going to be working through a recodification process where we not only incorporate those new laws, but we also go back through the code and make sure that they're outdated things, the conflicting statutes, all of that stuff is addressed. One of the conversations we did have was if there was other new issues, one of which zoning was explicitly brought up, that we would want to engage the planning and zoning commission to give us some input proactively if we're doing more than just cleaning up, if we address maybe usage. So yeah, unbeknownst, actually, that process is kind of already starting. But if you want to get action item now, to Mike's point, we can ask the Planning and Zoning Commission to at least narrowly focus, look at C3, get back to us after the next meeting with their input. Then you can determine there if you want to go forward with an ordinance, because then we would have to go back to the public hearing process.
Well, that's
No.
exactly what I'm trying to avoid is referring them anything that require us going through public notice or anything to.
That's
We can't avoid that anyway.
Well, no,
Just referring that.
referring that to that, we
Yeah.
would have to do it, to
Right.
refer this issue to get something back. Like, I
Right.
don't want to have to go through advertising and everything on something.
Just, well, since there's no ordinance being discussed. Oh, there's no, so then for
Well,
a
yeah.
conversation, you can get that ball rolling, which I think
Exactly.
is the fastest.
I think
So, so we're talking about, posing that question on the 13th and then the 20th of next month, having a,
Having a report back.
I would, that, you guys think?
In agreement?
so.
All right. Sounds good.
Motion is-
Okay,
Second.
got a motion by Mike to present it to P and Z.
Refer this to P and Z for discussion
For
and
discussion.
report back on the meeting on the 20th of March.
Second. Got a second by Justin. All in
Thank you.
favor, or roll call vote? You want to go roll call vote? Or all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none, we'll present it to P and Z. Next meeting. While we're discussion of, discussing our code and changing and removing things specifically to the code, I'd like a little bit of discussion of the results of our vision committee. Whatever comes out of that, to possibly update some codes to entice people to come in and do what the committee decided they'd like to do.
One of the reasons why I said, don't look at them all.
Right.
Yeah, was because, well, we've got
Okay.
relatively fresh comprehensive plan. We have this vision. Dealing with larger retail districts. Kind of premature to start going and passing through zoning. But I think, yes,
Okay, well, we'll bring that forward again, after get some data back. Good. So, real quick, review of the Board of Aldermen agenda. Is there any questions or comments?
Yes, on the agenda, the temporary use permit for the Bad Boys fireworks. What, when do they want that permit for? Is that for 4th of July?
Well, we only have a period of time that they're allowed to sell fireworks.
So, I
So,
mean, it didn't state, so.
yeah,
But maybe there's something coming
Yeah.
up, they wanted something soon.
there's just, I forget what the weeks are or whatever. There's like so many days before and so many days after it have to close up. So it's just a.
I thought maybe they asked them.
I will ask for that to be.
Okay, and, I'm gonna ask for a closed session real quick. Is there anything else on that? Any questions on the agenda? Pete?
On the
You have
agenda,
something?
on the agenda, no, but I guess I'll wait for the Alderman portion for the other issues we have. You want me to bring another issue up right now?
I mean, it's
Well,
on the agenda.
It's not
On the agenda.
Oh, yeah. This would be. Yeah.
It's not-
If you,
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
there's
wait,
a,
yeah.
okay,
It's not an agenda item, so we'll switch staff communications and I'll bring it up there.
okay.
Right, I'd like to have a motion to go into a closed session for, okay, for items 3 and 13 would be, personnel. 13 is
Also person.
personnel.
So moved.
Uh,
Second.
Got a motion by Mark, a second by Mike? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, you gotta call the roll. Sorry, you gotta call the.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so, we're gonna go in closed session. We'll be back as soon as we get some things taken care of.
Yeah.
We come out.
Right. Huh?
I said, I've got cookies waiting for me at home tonight. I don't want to drag this out.
Oh, okay. What's your?
Mid River Snakes. February
I
7th.
didn't get a chance to read it.
Well, they published it again today. They published. Maybe they late. Who knows?
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Tom, how you doing? Hey, any updates on the slab replacements in Cordova?
I know it's on the agenda tonight, but the easements.
No, that's, and
Well, the last I heard was James reached out to
Joel,
about, are you gonna use our contract?
yeah,
And I have not heard a word other than,
just keep dragging their feet on everything. The,
that's the only thing I know is what I've done.
what's going on with the easements? 7 of them, plus the easement that
And I
was,
saw the copy. I think one of the aldermen. Or today asked for a copy of these. Look at this.
right.
So I guess it's.
The issue is that Joel, who represents Kingdom, said that by the time all of the easements were submitted, you know, accepted by the homeowners and signed, that they would see the agreed payment. And that's been a month ago.
So no
And
one's been paid for the easements.
no one has. I've called as recent as a couple days ago. He's not returned the call. They have submitted them to the county to be recorded. They're recorded. But his side of the equation has not been fulfilled. So I don't know if that needs to be brought up this evening.
Speak-
Yeah, I've talked to John about it.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll
And
bring it up
James.
or not. Sometimes they forget.
Yeah, like I said, everyone on our side has done everything that needs to be
Yeah.
done. Including,
I've done the inspection.
right,
In the slab,
yeah, including,
Twice.
I know, including
even have a drawing with the
Right.
location.
Yeah. representing the,
21.
right, representing the association for the right of way. Not the right of way, the, well, the easement for the community ground. I signed for that.
Yeah,
So they're just,
I'd still, speak. Well, I know it's only,
I saw it, yes, number 5 on the agenda.
but see, you won't be able to speak.
In public comments, I could,
You could, but that's what I'm saying.
unless they ask me to come up.
You haven't, they,
That's fine, I don't
don't
care.
do, I'm just saying, I haven't spoken the comments.
But I might ask if they have any questions concerning anything on item number 5 that's on the agenda. And some
I
of,
would suggest,
Some of the-
based on how here's up here is, you know, at least fill out a speaker.
Yeah.
So that you can at least
right, inject something.
inject something into that public comment to make sure that this information is.
Right.
when you come up on that ordinance.
Right,
But I would suppose.
okay,
That way, if they forget, let's say they talk about it, but yeah, I have not seen very often that they are in the comments. Have a conversation.
that's fine. Yeah, I understand.
As a matter of fact,
Well, that's totally
they
different.
would never
Yeah, I understand.
questions
Yeah. Okay,
during. the
Yeah.
Actual,
that's fine.
it just,
Don't want to break protocol, but
just based on.
I get it. Okay,
If you can take 30 seconds to. Or at least consider this information.
Yeah.
During that.
Period.
Yeah,
yeah, when they're discussing,
ain't hurt.
okay. Like I said, I'm not looking for trouble, but I think that
No.
they need to,
I think they need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
It's a piece of information.
and I'm not getting paid, it's the
No,
other
no,
stuff,
it's the other people, yeah,
but
but it's still information
they need to know that.
that goes, absolutely.
They've been very difficult, as you well know.
Yeah, it's been a process, I understand.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you?
Happening.
Lots going in.
Pretty day today, huh?
Lots of we're in like grant season for writing for the grants. Write a bunch of them for all our municipalities.
Okay.
We're in heated battle on that. It's good.
Is that just a kind of a grab, if you will? I mean,
It's a process. It's like, for instance, last year we obtained phase one of the coast road improvements.
Yeah.
This year we're. It's two. Like for resources. Jobs last year with the service square.
Yeah.
So, and we're constantly, that's the only way you can afford to do those roads and eligible.
Yeah.
It's not all streets. The
okay,
only streets that are eligible for federal grant are streets like Henry, Post Road, Town Square, regular subdivision streets. That's all. Okay, we consider. it.
Yeah.
So the roads that are eligible.
yeah, makes sense. I
Yeah,
guess.
classification. So, we have an office.
Is it busy?
Trying to be.
Yeah.
But we don't do any private. So-
No.
So we're a little different than most engineers. We're more of a version. Oh, probably more of a version of Volker, but they're much
Or on a small scale. Partnership thing. No. Nothing. Yeah. Public. We're small versions. Primarily public. And not to say we are not Illinois, there's going to be solid. Commercial engineering. Yeah. So. Business parking. For all their infrastructure. Yeah. So you. We manage that in 2008. It's just, no, it's not very. And that's an interesting. Massage, yeah, it's quite a business park. We got a FedEx. There's some new activity going on too. We're gonna use how's everything with you?
It's good, you know,
Moving forward.
yeah. It's moving, it just seems, you know, just everything seems difficult. I don't know, just in general, right? It always takes longer and it's always more expensive. I mean, you know, but that's just the way it is. So you just gotta figure
Yeah,
it
you
out, you know?
Yeah.
But everything's,
But I think the city of Ophel is pretty close to approving those right away.
oh, okay. Yeah.
I think the new room, that's leg comments.
Yeah.
The improvements to the intersection.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Right, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah. 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 I mean, there'll be a couple people that try. I mean, this is gonna be. Yeah, I think. Yeah, they would. That's what they'll
Before
do.
they go to.
They absolutely would. They'll zoom down, whatever, take right, yeah. That's exactly what they'll do. They would.
That's what I.
That would, yeah.
told myself.
They're gonna come right go behind the sheriff car, come in. That's exactly, I never thought about that, but that's what I would do. My way would be, God dang, what are you doing?
Right. That's what, if people are like water, follow the least path.
You try it, yeah.
So then, you know, who knows if the intersection flows.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
But there's problems.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I think me, don't think I would go.
unless you just want to go for a drive,
Around and close.
not gonna be. You'll do it the first time because you don't know it's there and you'll be, this is a waste of time,
Right, it took me longer.
for sure.
Let's see, I like.
And it's gotten busier in that area. There's a lot of. Right. Yeah, something to talk about, I guess. Just, hey, I don't know what you're
Saying, so I guess.
I got one, you know, steak, right? Yeah.
How's your son doing?
Oh, good. I'm just, what's he up to? Just they're practicing. They'll start their official spring
Spring ball.
ball coming up in about a week,
Yeah.
maybe next week. And then they'll have a spring game like March 2nd or something.
Black and gold.
Yeah, black and gold game. Yeah.
Yeah, remember my son played.
Yeah.
They had their red and white game.
Mhm. Yeah.
And he got hurt down in New Orleans in the Sugar Dome. And he got a concussion playing in the Sugar Dome. And he tried to come out for his last year
Ooh.
in spring. It's been good. He kept throwing in spring.
How long did it take him to get through everything?
Well, it probably took him
He got.
What happened? What was the?
So it was, like I said, it was in New Orleans. He was blocking down on the linebacker.
Yeah,
He played left guard.
yeah.
And the second linebacker.
Ear hole?
Ear holding because the running back was right behind him. So,
Yeah.
and he missed the running back and hit himself as he was going down with the other on top of the other.
Immediately, was he injured or
Oh,
was
yeah,
it something?
yeah. My wife and I, you know.
I know, dude.
Better than anybody, being a quarterback.
Yeah.
But when you see your son carded off,
Well, I never seen him carted off.
when you
I
see
don't even
that
thought about it.
on, you know, from my wife, she ran,
Oh, I'm sure.
she almost ran out of the state,
Yeah,
state Mercedes Benz.
right.
And I had to reel it back in because Dave comes up, he could wiggle.
Right.
He was moving his hands and his feet.
There you go. Right.
It was like, God, dear God,
I know.
get up, get up.
I say it before every game,
Oh, yeah.
praying just for health. So just Lord, get me through, get me through the game.
So the receivers and running backs are subject to running.
And they've done a good job protecting quarterbacks the last 10 years. I mean, it's better than it used to be. They used to get it. When I was in high school, I mean, you were told the stuff we were told, I mean, I remember putting jerseys on the quarterbacks. I mean, you tried your best.
I played defensive end, and me and the other defensive end, we'd say, meet you.
I know. I told my wife, she goes, you did. I said, dude, in the old days,
You want to try to break his neck, I'm gonna try to break his.
now today, you know,
That was just nice.
not just in school. Yeah, I didn't play college.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I played some baseball.
Yeah.
In college. I did not play football.
It's a tough game. I mean, the injuries.
I'll never forget the first practice of my son had in summer camp. It was the fall started.
Yeah. And what year was this?
This was 2014.
Okay.
15 years. He left his graduation and then right away went down
Yeah.
to summer camp and when fall ball started. That's when I did.
It's on.
I mean, the Norways,
Right.
linemen, they're against each other. It's a different level.
Collision.
And you're right on the field or right up.
Oh, when you're down in the field, the game is so different. I've been down on the field in a college game. I still haven't even been down there. But I remember in high school going down, even when Brady played high school, you hear the footsteps, you see the guys running. The speed is like, are you kidding me? I've not even been down in a college game. I can't imagine because I'll say
When we-
these linemen look like they're so freaking big. The linemen
And they're
are,
fast.
dude. It,
So when my son was at his peak, he was 6'4.5". Again, playing guard because he wasn't.
Yeah.
Super tall. 6'4.5", 320 is what he's,
good size.
which is, right size. And not SEC size, but good enough. And, but he ran 40.
Yeah. I know,
Which
dude.
is,
Dude, the linemen are fast, bro. If you get linebackers, these guys are just as fast. They're good faster.
and so some of the guys on his team have gone to the NFL.
Yeah.
And he played against practice. It was Chris's first year with redshirt. And then he was on the scout team and then won a scout team player. And that kind of shit. And the guys going to the NFL. Oh, because the defensive guys, because he gave up.
Yeah.
And the guys took off.
Yeah.
My son was one of those crazy white boys, and they're brothers.
Oh, I know.
But he didn't take off. So that's why the D tackles, starting D tackles,
Yeah.
they liked going against him. Because he knew he was going to get one bad.
Yeah.
And so that's how you win Scout Team Player of the Year. As a lineman. Because that's a hard thing.
Full of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a lot of glory. You gotta love the game and you have to love practice and understand and love
Oh, yeah.
football because
Oh, Scout Team.
it's,
Well, you're basically dominant. I mean, for that first year,
mhm.
he was redshirt, and that, so it was good after that. But you know, how about that?
Brady's roommate.
What amazes me is when my son played at the mid-major, so he didn't play
Right.
at the Power Five. Everybody told him they thought he could, and Pinkel recruited him a little bit, but they took a kid named Andy Bauer instead of him. And Andy was at the SPAC kid. They were a 5-star guy, never played at that. And after Mizzou played Arkansas State, down in Arkansas State, Pinkel came up to us. I gotta give it to you. You made a liar out of me.
Yeah.
So that was nice of
That
him,
was nice.
because he didn't have to.
We looked at Arkansas State. They had a good coaches coming out there. It's a good
But
program.
they got,
Yeah,
they had, well, his guy, Gus Malzahn,
right.
so, and then he left, and then Hugh Freeze was there.
Yeah.
He was a
Right.
mess guy.
All kinds
I mean, all these guys, and then they all went on to be pretty successful. Well, Gus Malzahn won the national championship the next year at Auburn. So anyway, you know, those, the mid-majors have a lot of good players. But anyway, back to how did that just tells you how many people get missed?
Oh, I get missed off.
Get misdiagnosed.
And what Cody had is the perseverance and the belief in himself, where some were just buckled down and
To
take
go
what they hated.
Division two
Yeah,
to the best running back in the SEC.
the best, really, the United States,
Which is-
really,
but
the
that's
best, yeah, SEC, which is SEC.
It's
It is. Yeah, who's gonna argue with him?
right.
He's so tough. He's so.
He's amazing. Yeah,
Did you get the record champions all?
no. Well, I mean, in the fact that it's being considered, but I'm not gonna say it. Sign it if it's good.
If you get to.
Yeah. Which I'm sure. Sure.
If we don't review it, we cause me to sign it. I'm turning the grass into the shade here.
I'm sure he'll let me. I'm sure. We have had so many other issues going on, so.
Yeah.
We're in the heat of the battle. So, writing grants, looking on the Scott tonight. For some board meetings, I would probably.
Yeah, no shit.
It is to be single in charge of it.
Yeah.
First base. He's development. 364. He paid the match for the feds will stay in there. And 364 is going to wait for $50 million match. I mean, and they continue. There's great projects. When we write a federal grant, or please go skate. Let's say, like, for instance, Town Square. Town Square has been $1 million project. We did get the grief. It's basically a resurfacing, restramping, fixing curves. So it's an 80-20, so the feds are paying 80, so the feds are paying 800,000. The road board, normal cities in St. Louis County, they have to pay the 200 fees. Okay? St. Charles County. The cities, the road board pays 80% of the 20%. So the city is getting a $1 million grant and they're paying $40,000.
What to do?
It wouldn't be possible.
Well, we voted for it.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't, but I did.
No, I didn't. So I actually, in 83, I lived in St. Peter's. I was
There you go.
I was on the committee that actually brought that forth. 83. So Tom Brown was there. I was just newly moved into our first Well, 83. And all aldermen were right down the street, so he had to be to the committee.
Who was that?
His name. I live right in the corner of Hickory Ridge. His name escapes me. I can see that. But he didn't stay very long. He was there for 2 years.
Okay.
We stayed in Hickory Ridge for 7, 8 years. Then we moved from there to here into the. And then I moved. We've been there since. We've been out here for a whole everybody.
Yeah.
I worked for St. Peter's for a while. Oh, 5 years. That was the best start. It was from Hickory Ridge, which is suburbs of Joe Mason. So when my wife and we both grew up in North County, so we go out there, we were engaged and we were looking for, we're looking for houses and things. And I saw one in the paper. So, hey, this house is in Florence and I've been for $80,000 for these 3-bedroom ranches. I see this ad in the paper. Starting in the 50s.
Yeah.
Okay, so we went out there, they didn't even have a display on this project, they just had a job trailer with elevations on the.
Right.
And,
Mason.
yeah, Joe Mason, yeah. Mason, they were a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
They were a big deal.
I did some work through Mason.
Yeah, so, and I don't know who did, I don't know if Max did. Hickory Ridge or I don't know, remember. But so all these streets are on cul-de-sacs. There wasn't cul-de-sacs. I mean, everything was through tracks.
Well, if you go down Willow, where Willow intersected Young, was a little subdivision there. Marinette. I lived there when we first really got us. Like $40,000.
And so here's our finishes. So we're looking at these displays and they have tennis court and a swimming pool there that they were showed on. They had a rendering. We can live on. Kids get much better. And so the guys, what do you like? So here's what's the job. And the guys are gonna raise it. Yes, they did. Checking. He goes, well, what do you got? So we paid 15. 65. We live here.
In a lot of ways, I wished I was still here.
No. Still big. I mean, there's.
Andy line.
Right. Oh, it's the boulevard.
I thought it was.
Okay, let's call the work session back to order. Entertain a motion to adjourn the work session.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, the work session is adjourned.